Chapter 13. He held on to the phone long after she had hung up. He needed to know that it was real, that he wasn't dreaming this too. Yes, she had really called him. She was real. She was alive. Should he go? Did he have a choice? He thought of her sitting so close to him in the car, pressing her face against his, kissing him, kissing him, kissing him. Of course he had to go. She needed him, and he needed to ask her all the questions that were in his mind, to find out the truth about her once and for all. He got dressed in seconds, turned off the desk lamp, and started to sneak silently down the stairs. He was halfway down when his parents' bedroom door opened, and his father lumbered out into the dark hallway. "Corey, is that you?" He had to answer. If he didn't, his dad would think it was a burglar. "Yeah, Dad, it's me," he whispered. "What's the matter? What are you doing?" "Think fast, Corey, think fast." I'm just going down for a snack. I woke up 'cause I was hungry." His father grunted, accepting the story. "Thought I heard the phone ring," he said, yawning. "Yeah, it was a wrong number," Corey said. He waited until he heard his father go back in and close the bedroom door. He waited another minute or two, then he crept silently down the rest of the stairs and out the front door. It was even colder than the first night he had sneaked out, but there was no wind at all. The ground felt hard and frosty beneath his sneakers. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds. Again he let the car roll down the drive, then started it on the street. Mill Road was as dark and empty as before. Corey stared at the curving white line in the center of the narrow road and thought about Anna. Was she really in trouble this time? She sounded very frightened, very frantic. What could the problem be? Was she afraid to tell him? Or did she just want to see him? If so, why could she see him only in the middle of the night? And why couldn't he park near her house? Why did she have to meet him in front of Simon Fear's creepy old mansion? He thought of the disturbing dream he had just had about her, and the photo in a newspaper article flashed into his mind. He forced himself not to think about that. He wanted to kiss her again, and again. This was so exciting. He turned onto Fear Street and stopped in front of the burned-out mansion. Across the street, the cemetery lay dark and still. He turned off the headlights. The blackness enveloped him. He couldn't see a thing. He suddenly felt as if the blackness had walled him off from the rest of the world, as if he had entered a black tunnel, an endless black tunnel, a tunnel leading to... He turned around to look out the back window for her. No sign of her. Nothing moved. The trees, black shadows against a blacker sky, could have been painted on a backdrop. He rolled down the window and breathed the frigid air. He looked for her in the rearview mirror. She still wasn't coming. He reached for the door handle to get out of the car, but remembering the huge Doberman, he decided against it. It was too cold with the window down. He rolled it back up. Where was she? He held his wrist up to check the time, but he had forgotten to put on his watch. He turned again and peered out the back window. Only blackness. Despite the cold, his palms were hot and sweaty. He coughed. His throat felt tight and dry. He couldn't sit still any longer. He was too nervous. He pushed open the door and climbed out. He closed the door quickly, so no one could see the light. He listened for the neighbor and his vicious four-legged companion, the ghostly guards. Silence. This must be what it's like on the moon, he told himself. So quiet, so still, so unreal. The insistent theme music from the Twilight Zone ran through his mind. Where was she? He started to walk down a long block toward her house. The air was cold and wet, so wet it seemed to cling to him as he walked. He stopped at the edge of her driveway and looked up at the old house. Dark, completely dark. Or was it? Was that a sliver of light escaping from beneath a second-story window blind? Someone was awakened there. Was it Anna? Was she waiting for the right moment to sneak out and come down to him? Was someone keeping her from making her escape? Brad. Crazy Brad. He shuddered as a chill ran through his body. He decided to go back and wait in the car. The street was so dark, he couldn't see more than a few feet in front of him. The only sounds were his footsteps as he trudged over the gravelly road. Finally, he climbed into the car and closed the door. It wasn't much warmer inside. He slid down low in the seat, pulling his head down into his jacket, trying to warm up. Where was she? He stared at the windshield, watching it frost up from his breath. Was he shivering from the cold, or from the fact that he was starting to worry about her? Maybe something terrible had happened to her. Maybe she had called him because she knew she was in danger, and he hadn't come soon enough. Staring at the opaque layers of steam on the windshield, Corey's ideas grew wilder and wilder. Maybe Brad was holding Anna prisoner in that house. She had said that Brad was dangerous. That was the very word she had used. Dangerous. Maybe she wanted Corey to help her escape from Brad. Only Brad had found out about her plan, and he had what? He pushed open the door and jumped out. He looked back down the block toward her house. She wasn't coming. His breath was forming curtains of smoke in front of him. He realized he was breathing very rapidly, and his heart was pounding. Where was she? He had no choice. He had to go to her house. He had to make sure she was okay. She had called him for help, and all he had done was sit in his car trying to stay warm. Some help. He began jogging to her house, his sneakers thudding loudly over the hard ground, the only sound beside his gasping breaths. He turned up the gravel drive and picked up speed. Looking up, he saw the thin sliver of light in the upstairs bedroom. The ground tilted and swayed. He forced himself to keep jogging steadily, up on the porch now. Then he was ringing the bell, forgetting that it was broken. Then he was knocking on the door. First a normal knock, then, when no one answered, as hard as he could. Where was she? What were they doing to her? The door swung open. Brad, looking sleepy and puffy-eyed, stepped quickly out onto the porch, nearly knocking Corey over backward. His little eyes opened briefly with surprise, then narrowed as anger spread over his pink face. You, he said, and turned his face as if to spit. Corey tried to say something, but he was too out of breath. What do you want now? Brad asked, leaning menacingly over Corey. What are you doing here? Anna called me, Corey managed to get out. Brad's face filled with rage. He reached out and grabbed the front of Corey's jacket. Are you trying to torture me? He screamed. Is this some kind of cruel prank? Corey tried to pull away, but Brad's grip was surprisingly strong. Wait, I told you, Brad screamed at the top of his lungs. Anna is dead. Anna is dead. Why can't you believe me? He was pulling Corey's jacket so hard, Corey was having trouble breathing. In a desperate attempt to free himself, Corey brought both hands up and smashed them down against Brad's forearms. Brad let go. Corey started to back away. This seemed to enrage Brad even more. He grabbed Corey by the jacket front again and started dragging him. He pulled him through the open front door and into the house. Now I'm going to get rid of you once and for all, Brad said. Chapter 14. This isn't happening to me, Corey told himself. This is just another bad dream. Wake up now, Corey. Wake up. He didn't wake up. He was already awake. This was no dream. Brad pulled him into the living room. The house felt hot and steamy. The air smelled stale. A small fire was going in the fireplace against the far wall. There were no other lights. Shadows twisted on the dark walls. The fire crackled loudly, startling Corey. Brad laughed. He was really enjoying Corey's fear. He loosened his grip on Corey's jacket. Corey took a step back. Brad's rhinestone stud earrings sparkled in the firelight. His eyes grew watery from laughing. You're really scared of me, aren't you? He demanded, wiping tears from his eyes. Corey didn't reply. He stared back at the odd young man, trying to figure out how to escape if Brad attacked again, but he was too frightened to think clearly. Get out of here, Brad growled. I'm letting you go, but don't ever come back. Corey hesitated for a second. He wasn't sure he had heard right. Then he ran past Brad and out of the house. The door slammed hard behind him. The shock of the cold air revived him quickly. He stopped halfway down the driveway, turned, and looked up to the second-floor window. The blind had been raised, and light poured out into the surrounding darkness. A figure stood in the window looking down on him. Anna, he called, cupping his hands around his mouth. Anna, is that you? He waved frantically to her. The figure in the window pulled down the blind. The front yard returned to total darkness. How far can you spit that? What, this peach pit? Arnie held up the red pit between his finger and his thumb. Yeah, how far? David asked, his expression serious, as if he were making a scientific discovery. I can spit it into that wastebasket, Arnie said, pointing to a green wastebasket on the other side of the lunchroom, at least 100 feet away. Easy. You're crazy, David said. You'll never make it. No problem, Arnie insisted. In fact, it's too easy. Tell you what, see that kid with the red hair? Sort of looks like you? I'll ricochet it off that kid's head and into the wastebasket, just to make it hard. No way, David said, shaking his head. You can't spit it half that far. What do you think, Brooks? What? Corey looked up from his ham sandwich. Think you can do it? Corey shrugged his shoulders. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. He was thinking about Anna, of course. He'd been trying her phone for 2 days. No one had answered the phone. Arnie says he can spit the pit into the basket over there, David explained. So? Corey frowned. So, have you lost all interest in sports, Brooks? David demanded. Bad enough you've lost your sense of humor. Now you don't care about Major League athletic demonstrations. Why don't you guys grow up? Corey said wearily. He took a bite of the sandwich, but he felt too tired to chew. You're wrecked, man, Arnie said, rolling the peach pit around in his fingers. What's your problem, anyway? I haven't been getting much sleep, Corey told him. That blonde girl keeping you up late? Arnie said with an exaggerated leer. How come you're not sharing any of this with your pals? Leave him alone, David said, turning Arnie around in his chair. Spit the pit. $5 says it doesn't go halfway across the room. You're on, man, Arnie said. That's a bet. He tossed the peach pit into his mouth and took a deep breath. Suddenly, his eyes popped open wide. He grabbed his neck. His mouth fell open. He gasped for breath. Oh no, he swallowed it. He's choking, David screamed, leaping up from his chair and frantically pounding Arnie on the back. Arnie's face turned bright red. He was struggling to breathe, but it was obvious that he couldn't. Help! Somebody get help! Corey yelled. Oh my God, he's choking to death. David, horrified, went white as flour, looked as if he might faint. Help! Somebody! Corey stopped screaming. He stared at Arnie. He realized that Arnie was laughing now. Arnie winked at him. He held up his hand. The peach pit was still inside it. He had never even put it into his mouth. Gotcha, Arnie told his two friends, grinning triumphantly. He collapsed on the table in riotous laughter. David quickly revived and joined him, laughing and pounding the table. Corey stood up and disgustedly threw the rest of his lunch in the trash. You guys are just sick, he muttered. Hey, come on, Brooks, Arnie said. What's your problem? It's funny, and you know it. Corey shook his head and went out the door. He wandered around the parking lot for a while. It was bitter cold and he didn't have his jacket, but he didn't notice. He was trying to convince himself to stop thinking about Anna, to just erase her from his mind. He knew he'd feel so much better if he could just forget about her and go back to his old life. Look at me, he thought. I'm totally wrecked. I've had no sleep. My schoolwork is suffering. My gymnastics is suffering. I'm suffering. And all because of a girl whose creepy brother keeps telling me she is dead. He had to drop her, force her out of his life. He knew that's what he had to do, but he also knew he couldn't do it. At least not until he got some answers. About the newspaper clipping, about her brother, about why she had called him and then not shown up. He heard the warning bell ring inside the building. It was almost time for fifth period. Shivering, he felt the cold for the first time, and, rubbing his arms to warm himself, hurried back into the building. He and Lisa arrived at their lockers at the same time. How's it going? She asked. He tilted his hand from side to side to indicate so-so. I'm really sorry about Saturday, she said. I mean, about the gymnastics match and everything. He searched her face to see if she was making fun of him, but she looked sincerely sorry. There's always another match, he muttered. I guess, she said. She was acting strange, he noticed. Awkward. She wasn't teasing him or putting him down the way she had for their entire lives. So, how's it going with you? He asked. Okay. She was having trouble with her combination lock. Finally, she pulled it open and opened her locker. Can I ask you something? Her voice was muffled behind the locker door. Sure, he said. It wasn't like Lisa to be so formal. If she had something to ask, she usually just asked it. Well, you know there's the turnaround dance here Saturday night. Want to go with me? She asked it very fast, as if it were all one word. She was still hiding behind the locker door. Corey was very surprised. He and Lisa had been friends their whole lives, but they'd never gone out on a date. It was a really good idea, he decided quickly. He had to try to forget about Anna, or at least not think about her all the time. Going out with Lisa would help him. What a good friend Lisa was. She really was there for him when he needed her. Sure, he said. Great. Lisa peeked out from behind her locker door. She had a big smile on her face. I'll pick you up at 8 o'clock, she said. She sounded genuinely excited. Corey smiled back at her. Lisa was certainly acting weird, as if she had a crush on him or something. He glanced past her down the fast-emptying corridor. Was that Anna watching them in the shadows 2 classrooms down? Or was he just imagining that it was Anna? I've got to get her out of my mind, he told himself, feeling genuinely frightened. Now I'm starting to see her everywhere. But wait. She stepped out of the shadows. She was walking toward them. It was Anna. She walked quickly between them and gave Corey a warm smile. Hi, she said softly, her eyes revealing that she was happy to see him. She was wearing a white blouse and an old-fashioned flower-patterned jumper. Somehow she looked even more fragile than usual. Hi, Corey said. He took a step back. She was standing a little too close to him. He looked at Lisa, who looked very surprised. Hi, Lisa said, sticking out her hand to shake hands. We haven't really met. I'm Lisa Bloom. You're in my physics class. Yes, I know, Anna said, shaking Lisa's hand and giving her a warm smile. I've noticed you. You're very funny. Unfortunately, funny doesn't get you too far in physics, Lisa said, shaking her head. She pulled at her black curls. She seemed nervous. When did you move to Shadyside? A few weeks ago, Anna told her. It's hard being a new girl here. It's such a big school. I used to go to Melrose upstate. We only had 200 students. Corey's about the only new friend I've made here. She smiled at Corey. He could feel himself flushing. Lucky girl, Lisa said with her usual sarcasm. She gave Corey a funny look. How long have you two known each other? Anna asked Lisa. Too long, Lisa cracked. Corey didn't join in their laughter. He couldn't take his eyes off Anna. She was so beautiful, and it was so great having a normal conversation with her, seeing her get along so well with Lisa. Anna suddenly looked upset. Gee, I hope I didn't interrupt anything, she said to Lisa. I'm sorry. I heard you ask Corey to the dance. Then I just barged in here between you two, and... No, don't be silly, Lisa said. She glanced at her watch. Oh, the bell's going to ring. I promised I'd be early today. I've got to run. She picked up her book bag and slammed her locker shut. Bye, Corey. Nice meeting you, Anna, she shouted as she ran down the hallway. As soon as Lisa disappeared around the corner, Anna grabbed Corey's hand and squeezed it tightly. Remember Friday night? She whispered into his ear, standing on tiptoe to reach it. Yes, he remembered Friday night, but with her standing so close to him holding his hand, he completely forgot about everything else he ever knew. Yeah, he said. Brilliant reply, Corey. Very impressive. She brushed his ear with her lips and whispered something else. He couldn't quite make out what it was. It sounded like, You're all mine now. But that couldn't be it. Hey, Anna, he started. We've got to talk. I've got to ask you about... But she covered his mouth with her hand. Then she replaced the hand with her lips and kissed him. The kiss seemed to last forever. Corey had to struggle to breathe. They were finally interrupted by someone whistling at them. Anna pulled back. Corey looked up to see who whistled. The bell rang. Bye, Corey, she whispered, giving him a conspiratorial smile, and ran off down the hall. No, wait! But she was gone, and now he was late for class. He shook his head. He knew he wouldn't hear a word that was said in any of his classes. He'd be thinking about Anna all afternoon. Smooth move, Ace. Huh? You heard me? Lisa said. It was 3 hours later. School was over for the afternoon. They had met once again at their lockers. When Mr. Martin stood right in front of you and said, Corey, I don't think you've heard a word I said today, and you said, What? Real smooth move. Get off my case, Corey snapped. I just wasn't listening, that's all. Guess not, Lisa laughed. What are you doing now? You got practice? Yeah, I'm still on the team, believe it or not, Corey muttered dispiritedly. Well, do you want to come over after dinner? Maybe study and... She opened her locker and reached inside. Hey, there's something sticky. She pulled her hand out, and then she screamed. Her hand was covered with blood. Lisa, what is it? Corey asked. A dead cat flopped out of her locker and dropped onto her white sneakers. The locker was splattered with blood. The cat's stomach had been slit open. Lisa pressed her head against the cool tile wall. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. She kept repeating herself, not moving from the wall. Corey saw something tied around the dead cat's throat. It was a note written on white notebook paper. He bent down, pulled it off, and read it to himself. Lisa, you're dead too. Chapter 15. Anna! Hi, Corey. I waited for you. How was practice? He sighed and tossed his book bag wearily over his shoulder. Don't ask. I didn't make it to practice. Oh. She hurried to keep up with him as he headed down the walk and toward the street. It was 5 o'clock, and the sky was already dark. A wet wind blew in their faces, gusting around them, making it hard to walk. But Corey needed fresh air. He needed to move, to use his muscles, to let off some energy. I had to help Lisa clean her locker, he said. He spun around and looked into Anna's eyes. He wanted to see if she had any idea what he was talking about. What is she, an obsessively neat person? Anna asked, laughing a light musical laugh. Whoever heard of cleaning out your locker when school has just started? She didn't seem to know about the cat, or else she was a really good actress. As they cleaned up the mess, Lisa had insisted that Anna had to be the prime suspect. She heard that we were going to the dance together. She's jealous, Lisa had said, watching the paper towels in her hand soak up the cat's dark red blood. Get real. I've never gone out with her, Corey had insisted. I saw the way she looked at you, Lisa said. The way she stood next to you. Very possessive. She did this, I know it. That's just stupid. Lisa's accusations were making Corey really angry. Go get more paper towels, Lisa said. Ugh, I think I'm going to be sick. It's a good thing I hate cats. Now, an hour and a half later, Corey was walking in the wind, explaining to Anna what had happened. It was a dead cat. Someone had slit open its stomach, he told her. He studied Anna's reaction. Her mouth formed a small O of horror. No. Someone tied a note around the cat's neck, Corey continued. It said, You're dead too. How horrible, Anna cried, raising her hand to her mouth. Poor Lisa. Who would do such a disgusting thing? She seemed genuinely distressed. Corey felt guilty for suspecting her. He knew she hadn't done it. Want to go get a Coke or something? He asked. No. She shook her head, her light hair tossing wildly in a strong wind. Let's just walk. I can't believe that about Lisa. That's so horrible. Let's change the subject, he said, trying to brighten up. I heard you were the best gymnast at Shadyside last year, she said, obediently changing the subject. That was last year, he said quietly. That was before you arrived, he thought. All athletes have slumps, don't they? She asked softly, taking his arm, using him as a shield against the wind. Let's change the subject again, he said. Maybe we could talk about the turnaround dance, she said softly, putting her mouth right up to his ear. It sent a chill down his back. What about it? He asked. Wouldn't you rather go with me? Her voice got tiny and sweet, like a little child begging for candy. Well, yeah, I guess. Great. But I couldn't do that to Lisa. We've been friends too long, and... Oh. She frowned in disappointment, then almost immediately her face brightened again. Oh well, some other time, I guess. They turned down Park Drive, walking slowly, Anna holding on lightly to his arm, so lightly he could barely feel her touch through his down jacket. It felt great to be walking with her. She was so beautiful. Walking down the tree-lined street, the tall streetlights just coming on to brighten the gray evening, she seemed prettier, calmer, and happier than he had ever seen her. He felt bad about internalizing this peaceful moment, but he realized he had no choice. There were too many questions he had to ask her, too many things he was eager to know. I was at your house again, he started. He could feel her tighten her grip on his arm, as if she expected what was about to come next, as if she expected it and dreaded it. Your brother, Brad. He answered the door again. Brad. She mouthed the word without making a sound. Corey stopped walking and turned to face her. He seemed very upset, Anna. He grabbed me and pulled me into the house and started to rough me up. He kept saying you were dead. Her mouth dropped open in shock. She uttered a cry, a squeal of pain and surprise, like a small dog that's been stepped on. No. She slipped off his arm and started to run down the sidewalk, her white moccasins not making a sound. He wasn't going to let her get away this time. Flinging his book bag to the ground, he ran after her. He caught her easily, grabbed her arms, and spun her around. She refused to look at him. Go away, she cried, shoving him back. Go away, Corey. You don't want to get involved. I'm already involved, he told her, refusing to let her go. I can't stop thinking about you. Those words caused her to stop struggling. She stared at him questioningly, as if she didn't believe it, as if she couldn't have heard him correctly. I'm sorry, she said, her voice a whisper. As darkness settled, the air grew even colder and the wind picked up. He let go of her arms. She turned and started walking back in the direction of the high school. He followed, walking a few steps behind her. I have to know the truth, he said. Why did your brother say that about you? I don't know, she answered without looking back. I told you he was crazy. Someone called me before you did last Friday night and told me not to see you because you were dead, and if I did see you, I'd be dead too. Was that your brother? I don't know, she said. I really don't know. You've got to believe me. She started walking faster. He had to hurry to keep up. But why would your brother say a thing like that? Corey demanded. Why would he tell people you were dead? She spun around, and he almost ran into her. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. He's crazy. I told you. He's crazy, and he's very dangerous. She shouted, tears forming in her eyes. I really can't talk about it. Don't you understand? Who else lives with you? Corey asked, deliberately lowering his voice. He didn't want to make her cry, didn't want her to get hysterical. The poor girl obviously had a troubled brother who was making life difficult for her. Just my mother, Anna answered, wiping her eyes with the backs of her hands. But she isn't very well. It's just the three of us. They walked on a little in silence, side by side. Don't listen to Brad, she said finally. I'm here. I'm here with you. Don't listen to him. Just stay away from him. He mustn't know about us. Sorry for all the questions, he said softly, putting his arm around her shoulder. I didn't mean to upset you. It's just that I didn't know what to think, and you called me Saturday night, and then... What? No, Corey. You mean Friday night. You called me Saturday night, too, and I came as fast as I could, and... She turned and stopped him by putting both hands on his chest. She looked very upset. Someone played a horrible joke on you, she said, her blue eyes burning into his. I never called you Saturday night. Then who? Shh, it's okay, she said, putting her finger to her lips. Let's not talk any more. She tilted her head up. He leaned down and started to kiss her. No, she cried suddenly, startling him. She pulled away. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking past him to the tall hedges that bordered the sidewalk. I've got to go. Don't follow. He's watching me. She turned and ran up the street toward the high school. Corey stood helplessly, watching her flee for a few seconds. Then he moved quickly to investigate the hedges. He ran around to the other side. About 100 yards away, someone in a dark fur parka was running at full speed in the other direction along the hedge. Was it Brad? Could be. Anna was telling the truth. Now her crazy brother was spying on them. Well, I heard the big news. What? Corey looked up from the new issue of Sports Illustrated. I heard the big news, his mother repeated. She seemed annoyed that Corey didn't know what she was talking about. I was just talking to Lisa's mother. Yeah? Corey flipped through till he found the gymnastics article he was looking for. And what's the big news? About you and Lisa? Mrs. Brooks said impatiently. Huh? She walked over and stood in front of the couch, forcing him to look up from the magazine. Am I speaking to Corey Brooks of Planet Earth? She asked. He rolled his eyes. Give me a break. Well, are you or are you not going out on a date with Lisa? Oh! He suddenly remembered the turnaround dance. Yeah, I guess. What was the big deal? Why was his mom smiling like that? Why did she seem so pleased? I always knew it would happen, she said, crossing her arms as if hugging herself and going up on tiptoes, then quickly back down, repeating it several times. It was her own peculiar exercise. She always did it instead of standing still. What? I always knew the time would come when you and Lisa wouldn't want to be just friends anymore. Mom, what planet are you from? Corey asked disgustedly. Well, I just think it's nice that you and Lisa... I've got more important things to think about, he said. Like what? Like Anna, he thought, but he didn't say anything. He just shrugged. Like your homework? She asked. Oh, right, I forgot. He climbed off the couch and started quickly up to his room. Thanks for reminding me, he called down. Thanks a bunch. Any time, he heard her say from the kitchen. Hey, your father and I are going out, so you'll have peace and quiet for studying. He sat down at his desk and tried to concentrate on ancient China, but his mind kept wandering. Anna's face kept drifting into his thoughts, taking him away from the Fourth Ming Dynasty. Again and again he saw the look of terror on her face when she realized that Brad was watching them. Why was she so afraid of Brad? What hold did he have over her? What was he doing to her? He realized he hadn't gotten satisfactory answers from her. In fact, he hadn't gotten any answers. Anna really seemed too frightened to talk about it. He decided if he underlined the text, it might help him concentrate. He opened his desk drawer and began to search for a yellow highlighter. The phone rang. He stared at it, a heavy feeling forming in the pit of his stomach. He used to look forward to the phone ringing. Now the sound filled him with dread. It rang a second time, a third time. He was alone in the house. He could just let it ring forever. He stared at it, his hand only inches away from the receiver. Should he answer it or not?